by all accounts, the transition to California had been framed as a masterstroke of modern celebrity branding. The media coverage was intense, the initial streaming deals historic, the global interest unprecedented. What the public did not fully grasp, what the couple themselves failed to anticipate, was that the entire entertainment empire they sought to build was structurally dependent on the very institution they had left behind. When Prince Harry and Meghan Markle announced their decision to step back from their roles as senior King royals in January 2020, the world watched as the couple attempted to orchestrate a revolutionary blueprint for contemporary celebrity. According to observers of the transition, the grand plan was born out of an overwhelming sense of self-importance, a scheme that aimed to completely rewrite the centuries-old rules of royal execution entirely in their own favour. The objective, as subsequent events made transparent, was to establish a lucrative half-in, half-out arrangement. This arrangement would allow them to retain all the glittering benefits of their royal status while discarding the heavy burdens of duty. They craved the titles, the historic palaces, the security, the prestige, and the invaluable global connections that come naturally with the Windsor name. Yet, at the exact same time, they fiercely rejected the intense discipline, the grueling public service, and the unrelenting accountability that the British public demands from those who represent the Crown. It was a case of wanting to have their cake and eat it too, operating under the deeply flawed assumption that they were simply too big and too popular for the institution to lose. They sought a reality where they could enjoy the prestige of their titles and the access to historic palaces without the daily grind of representing the Crown. This attempt to construct a customized royal existence exposed a fundamental misunderstanding of the relationship between the British public and the monarchy, which is built on a foundation of service and accountability. The glamorous facade of the California dream has fractured, leaving behind the stark reality of one of the most spectacularly miscalculated strategic blunders in the modern history of the British monarchy. This profound delusion of indispensability became the very foundation of their post-royal strategy. Sources close to the situation within the palace walls have long whispered that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex genuinely believed they were the monarchy's ultimate golden ticket, the unique modernising force that the ancient institution desperately required to remain relevant in the 21st century. Within their tightly insulated bubble of Hollywood advisors, they convinced themselves that once they flounced off to the sunny shores of California, the entire British royal infrastructure would slowly but inevitably fall apart without their undeniable star power and global appeal. They genuinely imagined a scenario where a panicked and desperate royal family would eventually come crawling back on their knees, begging the golden couple to return and salvage the family brand, accepting whatever astronomical terms and conditions Harry and Meghan chose to dictate. It was a breathtaking display of arrogance, a complete misreading of an institution that has successfully survived civil wars, political revolutions, social upheavals, and intense constitutional crises over the course of 1,000 years. These Sussexes failed to understand that the power of the British monarchy resides entirely within the Crown itself, not within the individual personalities of those who temporarily happen to wear the uniforms or inherit the titles. The advice they received within their California circle appeared to reinforce the belief that their personal brand eclipsed the historic institution itself. This miscalculation ignored the historical reality of the Crown, which has endured through centuries of disruption by maintaining its core structural identity rather than relying on the fleeting popularity of individual members. Instead of the catastrophic collapse that the California exiles had so confidently anticipated, the royal family responded with a masterclass in institutional resilience, quiet dignity, and strategic silence. Following their departure, the palace walls instantly closed ranks, adapting with quiet efficiency to the sudden vacancy left by the departing couple. King Charles III and the Prince and Princess of Wales stepped forward to absorb the responsibilities, carrying on with their official duties with a seamless dedication that made the absence of the self-proclaimed irreplaceable Sussexes completely unnoticeable to the general public. The daily business of the British state continued without a single hitch, proving to the entire world that the monarchy did not just survive the dramatic departure, but actually flourished in its aftermath. It was a brutal and deeply humiliating realization for Harry and Meghan, who had to watch from across the Atlantic as the royal machine rolled on majestically, utterly indifferent to their absence. The harsh truth became undeniable that the institution never actually needed them in the first place, and the public affection they thought belonged exclusively to them was, in reality, merely loaned to them by virtue of their position within the family. The seamless transition of duties demonstrated that the machinery of the monarchy is designed to be larger than any single couple. By absorbing the official responsibilities, King Charles III and the Prince and Princess of Wales reinforced the stability of the institution, leaving the departed couple to watch from afar as the public quickly moved on. Having built their entire public identity on the bold premise that the royal family could not possibly function without their presence, the Duke and Duchess were suddenly forced to confront a far more terrifying reality, which was that they could not function without the royal family. Stripped of their active royal roles, deprived of their official patronages, and cut off from the financial mechanisms of the British state, they embarked on a relentless commercialization of their personal grievances. Every major project they launched over the subsequent years, from the explosive Oprah Winfrey interview that sent shockwaves through the international media in 2021, to the self-indulgent multi-part Netflix documentary series, and ultimately to the deeply bitter pages of Prince Harry's memoir, Spare screamed the exact same pathetic truth. They were completely incapable of letting go of the institution they claimed to despise. Instead of building an innovative, forward-thinking media empire based on original creative concepts, global philanthropy, and genuine artistic merit, they found themselves trapped in a continuous loop of milking the very institution that had given them their platform. Their entire business model became dependent on selling out family secrets, airing private laundries, and capitalizing on their royal connections, a strategy that exposed a profound lack of independent substance and creative vision. Their reliance on the details of their former royal lives revealed a significant creative limitation, as their most successful commercial ventures were those that focused on the family they had abandoned. This dependency on their royal connection highlighted the difficulty of establishing a separate, independent media presence that did not rely on the exposure of internal family dynamics. This relentless cycle of public victimhood and scorched earth attacks eventually began to take a severe toll on their international reputation, particularly in the United States. The American public, initially enamored by the romantic narrative of a real-life prince and an American actress escaping a restrictive system, rapidly grew weary of the endless complaining, the transparent hypocrisy, and the constant demands for privacy from a couple who refused to step out of the spotlight. The high-profile commercial partnerships that were supposed to guarantee their long-term financial independence began to unravel in spectacular fashion. The sudden termination of their multi-million-dollar Spotify deal, accompanied by blistering public commentary from senior executives who openly labelled them as grifters, sent a clear signal to Hollywood that the Sussex brand was becoming toxic and unprofitable. When the public appetite for royal gossip began to diminish, The couple found themselves in an incredibly precarious position, possessing an astronomical lifestyle to maintain in Montecito, but lacking the creative output to sustain it. The realization that they had exhausted their primary source of income, which was their own family drama, marked the beginning of a profound and chaotic shift in their strategic outlook. The collapse of the Spotify deal served as a public indication of the challenges they faced in the competitive entertainment market. Without a steady stream of original content, maintaining the high-profile lifestyle of Montecito became increasingly difficult, forcing a reassessment of their long-term commercial strategy. The public backlash reached a humiliating crescendo when mainstream popular culture turned against them completely. Satirical animated shows dedicated entire episodes to mocking their relentless quest for attention, transforming them from tragic figures into global laughingstocks. Their popularity ratings plummeted to historic lows on both sides of the Atlantic, proving that the public could see right through the carefully manufactured narrative of victimhood. Meanwhile, back in London, the working royals demonstrated what true public service looked like. Even when facing immense personal challenges, King Charles III and the Princess of Wales maintained their steadfast commitment to their duties, earning widespread praise and deepening public respect. The contrast was devastating for the Sussexes, who were left looking increasingly trivial and self-absorbed as they launched commercial ventures like American Riviera Orchard, which struggled to generate genuine enthusiasm. The public respect earned by King Charles III and the Princess of Wales during their personal challenges highlighted the difference between duty and commercial self-promotion. While the monarchy maintained its focus on public service, the launch of American Riviera Orchard failed to capture the public's imagination, leaving the couple isolated from the mainstream conversation. Now, after years of inflicting maximum damage upon the monarchy, after unleashing a torrent of accusations and systematic betrayals against their own flesh and blood, the concept of royal reconciliation has suddenly become extraordinarily attractive to the exiled couple. After trying their absolute hardest to burn the ancient House of Windsor to the ground, they are suddenly seen sniffing around the edges of the royal estate, desperately looking for a diplomatic loophole or a quiet way back into the fold. This sudden and dramatic shift in behaviour cannot be mistaken for genuine personal growth or emotional maturity. It is, quite simply, the unmistakable scent of absolute desperation. It represents one of the most embarrassing own goals in modern royal history, a catastrophic miscalculation born out of betting everything on the arrogant idea that the crown needed them far more than they needed the crown. They are realizing too late that, out in the cold world of commercial entertainment, they are nothing more than transient celebrities whose currency is rapidly depreciating, while the family they abandoned remains an enduring symbol of national stability. The apparent desire to find a way back into the royal fold suggests a realization that their commercial appeal is directly linked to their connection to the crown. As transient celebrities in the competitive American market, they face the reality that their independent influence is limited compared to the enduring status of the institution they left. As the dust finally begins to settle on this chaotic chapter of contemporary royal history, the contrast between the two factions could not be more definitive. The British monarchy remains standing tall, solid, stable, and deeply rooted in the cultural fabric of the nation, having weathered the storm with its dignity fully intact. Meanwhile, the grand post-royal empire that Harry and Meghan so confidently promised to construct has completely failed to materialize, leaving behind nothing but a trail of broken relationships, cancelled contracts, and a tarnished public legacy. They traded a lifetime of secure public service and historical significance for the fleeting, transactional world of celebrity commercialism, only to find that without the magic of the monarchy, they are just another couple trying to stay relevant. The ultimate irony is that in their frantic quest for freedom, they manage to imprison themselves in a perpetual state of reliance on the very family they walked away from, proving once and for all that the crown always wins. The narrative they spun has collapsed under the weight of its own contradictions, leaving the Duke and Duchess to contemplate the devastating reality of their self-inflicted isolation. The collapse of their post-royal strategy leaves them in a position of self-inflicted isolation, where the very family they sought to distance themselves from remains the primary source of their public identity.